ever wonder why physics is important in medical field? There are numerous reasons why it is important in this medical field. I am going to discuss about the application of physics in the field of medical field. The topic medical physics or application of physics in the field of medicine involves two large areas, medicine and physics. Medical physics is nothing but applications of physics principle to the medical field in health and disease. So this is called as physics of physiology, and the applications of physics for the practice of medicine, where we are going to use the stethoscope, sphygmomanometer, X-rays, nuclear medicine for diagnosis and therapeutic use. So let me discuss the words physics and physicists have a common root in the Greek word called physiki, meaning science of nature. Today, the important thing that immediately a doctor does after hearing the medical history of a patient is to give him a physical examination. So during this examination, he uses stethoscope for finding the pulse rate, tapping the chest, uses X-rays and sphygmomanometer for finding the blood pressure. So what he uses is he applies physics. So there is a branch of physics which is called as physical medicine, which involves applications of physics in the field of medicine for diagnostic as well as therapeutic use. So let me see one by one the uses of the physics principle in medical field. So the types of radiations that we use in X-rays, gamma rays, protons or neutrons, and external beam radiation for diagnosis as well as for therapeutic use. X-rays are nothing but they are radiations with what higher energy particles called photons. So this was discovered by Roentgen in the year 1895. For this marvelous discovery, he has got Nobel Prize, and these X-rays are extremely used in the field of medicine, especially for what? Taking X-ray image. Why X-rays are used to get an X-ray image? Because it is not absorbed by the body tissues, but they are absorbed by the bones which contains calcium. That is why these X-rays are mainly used for taking the X-ray image. Nowadays, these X-rays are used for diagnosis, mainly used for what? Taking the X-rays of bone, where you can find whether there is any tumor, as well as this amount of radiations little bit raised that can be used for therapeutic use. So here you can see the picture of what? The X-ray tube, how these X-rays are initially produced by X-ray machine, and this is the first X-ray image which was taken by Roentgen. This hand is nothing but Roentgen's wife. So at the time Roentgen was very well knew that these X-rays are harmful. That is why he didn't use the X-rays for taking his hand, but he used his wife hands. Okay. So from this you are able to get the clear information about the bones. Next. So in medical, this mainly used for diagnosis, where we are going to use computerized axial tomography for diagnosis of a tumor, and these X-ray radiations also used for what? Therapeutic use. So this picture shows how X-rays are used for CT scan, computer tomography. So this shows how computer tomography can take a picture of what? A skull, where it can indicate that whether there is a tumor or any such disease. This shows normal lungs, and this is the darkened portion that shows cancerous tumor. So X-rays are used mainly nowadays for what? Cancer research. So these are the photographs where the color dyes are introduced, which will give a clear photograph of what? The tumor portion. So now I am going to discuss about what? The gamma rays, how they are used in diagnosis as well as for therapeutic use. There is a special branch of physics which is called as what? Medical physics in nuclear medicine, where we are using radiation for therapeutic as well as for diagnosis use. So the radiation that we are going to use for diagnosis should emit only gamma rays. So the gamma rays are nothing but electromagnetic radiation like X-rays, but they have higher energy. Gamma rays are energetic photons, they are much energetic, so they can be harmful. These rays are generally produced by radioactive atoms by nuclear explosion. So using high energy accelerators like cyclotron and synchrotron, already you have learned these cyclotron and synchrotron as particle accelerators in your higher secondary. So these waves can produce a strong radiation. So these rays finds immense application in the field of nuclear medicine. So a radioisotope which emits radiation like what? Alpha, beta, gamma. So in which the gamma radiation is used for what? Nuclear field medicine. So here the radiation which comes out of this radioactive isotope should be counted by the scintillation counter, and which contains a photomultiplier tube for amplification, and then it is connected to an electronic amplifier, and then it is counted. So we will count the amount of radioactivity using the principle of half-life theory. We will be using the radioisotopes for diagnosis. Mainly this is used in thyroid function test. Hope you know thyroid is a gland that uses hormones which is used to produce control the metabolic rate of the body. So a person with lower thyroid, which is called as hypo, and the high thyroid uptake test, then Kuiper. Then normal thyroid person is called as erythroid. So whether you are a hypothyroid or hypothyroid will be identified by using the radioisotope iodine 131 for nuclear medicine studies. Then similarly, you can also use iodine 131 pipric acid for renogram test, kidney function test. So you can identify whether your kidney is normal or it is affected by any other tumor condition. So this is mainly used for diagnostics. So this shows how a gamma camera which emits gamma radiation is used for diagnosis purposes. So this is so sensitive device which will capture the image within 1 or 2 minutes. So the information that we get from gamma camera, the picture will show you the dynamic variation of the body functions like what? Heart, lungs, any other organ. Next. So this shows the modern device positron emission tomography, where we are going to use the positron as a detector, and that is used for finding any variation in the tumor portions to identify diagnosis as well as for therapy. So the source that we are using here for positron emission tomography is a radioactive isotope, which is very sensitive device, that is a technetium 99M, where this M stands for metastable. So the energy which is emitted by this technetium source is 140 kiloelectron volt gamma ray. So this is commonly used in the nuclear medicine test studies. So this is a beautiful picture. This shows that how PET scan is used nowadays for diagnostic radiology. So these are MRI imaging, magnetic, using the principle of magnetic resonance techniques, how we are able to get MRI pictures by applying the physics principle in the magnetic field. And this shows how radiations are used in the field of cancer treatment. So high radiations from gamma radiations, cobalt-60, that can be used for treating the cancer. This shows a linear accelerator scan which is used for diagnosis as well as for therapy. So now comes how protons and neutrons. Already inferred in your high secondary, atom is nothing but it consists of center, there is a positive nucleus, then there is an electron which will be involved. So you will be using this proton and neutron, making it to high energy, that can also be used for radiation therapy. So a positive charge particle in the atomic nuclei is called proton. It has a machine called cyclotron used to energize these protons. These protons have small amount of energy when they enter into the body. This energy can be used to what? It can has a high energy, so it will cut the tissue, unwanted tissue, tumor, so that it can be used for therapeutic use. So what we can see is how this proton therapy used in the treatment of cancer to kill the tumor cells. So this is an instrument, that is a modern technique which uses this device. So next comes how external beam radiation, that is also used for the study of what? Nuclear medicine techniques. So the external beam comprising of what? High energy particle. The energy of X-rays or gamma rays produced by these beams are expressed in terms of what? Kilovolts or megavolts. So which is 10⁶ times that amount of radiation will be amplified. These voltage will be accelerated by the electronic potential used to produce the photon beam, and these beam therapy, external beam can be accelerated towards the body so that it can be used to kill the tumorous cells. So the radiation therapy destroying cancer cells, this is a picture, nice picture shows how this is used, radiotherapy is used to kill the cancerous cells. So next comes how the lasers. Laser is nothing but, it's an acronym, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So lasers are nowadays, it's a unique light source, not like an ordinary source. A sodium source is an incoherent source. But the beauty of laser is a unique light source that emits narrow beam of single wavelength with monochromatic and coherent. Okay, these beautiful properties of a laser makes this laser is used in the field of medicine. Since it is monochromatic and single wavelength, it can travel a single line for a longer distance. So it has a property of what can be considered as an ideal spot. So this finds application in the field of ophthalmology, mainly in photocoagulation and then retinopathy. So let us see how this lasers with high energy, since it can travel, all these energies are confined to a single wavelength, its energy is amplified. Therefore, this energy can be used for photocoagulation as well as what? Retinopathy. Mainly in modern days we are using this in the field of retinopathy and coagulation, photocoagulation. So instead of using laser in olden days, people have used xenon lamps. For that you have to give radiation to the eye for 3 days. Nowadays, because of the beauty of laser, it can be there in the hospital maximum half an hour and the exposure of radiation is just 1 or 2 minutes depending upon the eye level. So this picture shows how this is laser beam. It's a red light which is spots on the water. Eye spot, how this is used. And these are other instruments which is used, how lasers are used in the field of medicine. So now what I am going to tell is how the ultraviolet rays are used in the medical field. Ultraviolet rays are nothing but the rays with 100 to 400 nanometer. So ultraviolet rays of 320 nanometer finds immense application in the field of medicine, especially they can kill germs. So they are called germicidal. Since ultraviolet rays can kill germs, they can be used for sterilizing the clinical instruments. Now we are going to see about what? The infrared rays. Infrared rays are nothing but the rays above the visible light, which will be either from what? 600 to 700 nanometer. They can travel near the skin beneath 3 millimeter. Since it can travel beneath 3 millimeter, it will give a good picture of what? The nervous system. And this can also will be used in the process of what? Mammography test. Next we are going to see about what? Phototherapy. So especially the premature infants who are affected by jaundice are exposed to phototherapy. So their body will be exposed to phototherapy, where we are going to use a radiation, a white light radiation of 340 nanometer for phototherapy. So these shows how light, visible light, and also visible light finds immense application in the field of endoscopy, where we can get the internal body cavities by making use of endoscopes. So nowadays the flexible endoscopes are available for medical tests because of the fiber. The fiber is nothing but that will travel the light rays which can be bent in any direction. Since it has a property of what? Bending loss is less in optical fiber, this optical fiber is used for fluoroscopies. So the modern X-rays, where we are able to do the angiogram, angioplast, making use of X-rays that produces live X-ray image, that is called as fluoroscopy. The fluoroscopy is mainly used in cath lab for using the ECG test as well as what? Whether there is any damage in the heart. So these rays, what is that? X-rays, gamma rays, and then especially the high accelerators which produce a proton accelerator or a neutron accelerator for external beam therapy are used in the field of medical physics, mainly for getting information regarding the disease for diagnosis, as well as if the dosage is little bit higher, then it can be used for therapeutic use. Now I am going to discuss briefly about the biological effects of ionizing radiation which is caused by this radiation, because you should avoid whenever you go for X-ray radiation. X-rays are good in the sense of it gives you diagnostic as well as therapeutic use, but at the same time they have side effects. So these radiations which produce somatic as well as what? Genetic. If any one individual gets affected, then it is called as somatic. If it is affecting the further generation, future generation, that is called what? Genetic. Okay, so due to this exposure of radiation, the body may be coloring, so it can be reddening, and there will be loss of hair. So the individual gets affected. This is called as somatic effect. When we are taking these drugs, exposing the body for X-rays as well as gamma rays, and then future generation gets affected, then that will be called as the genetic. But one thing you should be aware of, these radiations are harmful, they are carcinogenesis. So whenever you go for X-ray radiation or any such radiation, you should have the awareness how much amount of radiation is exposed in your body, so that you can protect yourself from these radiations. The awareness people should have nowadays, because the body is exposed to so many radiation. People, those who are living near the nuclear reactor, their body will be automatically exposed by gamma rays. So they have to protect themselves from these radiation. So there are some physical device which is using physics principle called GM counter and photomultiplier tube as a scintillation detector that can be used for detecting the amount of radiation that the body is exposed, so that you can be aware of how much radiation is exposed. These radiations are good in the sense in the medical field, because of these days we have a lot of advancement in the field of medical physics based on physics principle, but at the same time these radiations are carcinogenesis. So you should have full knowledge regarding the radiation, so that you can protect yourself being this radiation. So hope you'll be understand how this field of physics is useful in the field, medical field, all physics principle, the physics of fire, the physics of lungs, the physics of heart. Heart is nothing but it is a pumping device where you can apply the pumping principle. And the blood flow is nothing but it is like the current flow in an electric conductor. So you can use the physical modeling to understand the physical phenomena. So you can apply the electric meter. So that principle will be applied to what? The electronic conductor, how blood flows through your blood vessels. So which principle you can apply here is the magnetic principle. That is Faraday's law. Faraday's law, when an electric field is passed through a conductor, then an EMF is induced. That EMF produced will be measured. Therefore, you can calculate how much amount of blood flow rate in your blood vessel. Similarly, you can apply the galvanic skin response, how much amount of resistance that your skin produces. So you are applying the Ohm's law principle and you are able to get the skin resistance. So that will give you, that is mainly applied in polygraph, a lie detector. Especially the CBI people will be using the polygraph for identifying. So if you take the physics, all physics, the electricity that is mainly used in therapeutic use, diathermy. Heating the body tissue by applying the electric field is called as diathermy. So you are using the electric field. The inductance method, the capacitance method, already you learned in a higher secondary class. You are applying that principle for diathermy, so that it is used to heat the joints, and then especially for strain, curing strain and strain. So all field medical physics which uses the physics principle, that utility we are applying in the field of medicine. So it is how wonder the physics is used in the field of medicine. Thank you.